Hello, my darlings. Today we're going to go over The Book Thief and we're going to specifically look at theme. Theme is something we've been talking about all year and we're going to continue to talk about it. Before we get started, a couple of announcements. First of all, I continue to be impressed by your thoughtful and original answers. I love how even when two people answer the same questions, their answers are different and they word things differently and they think about things differently and make different connections. And that just adds so much richness to the conversation. So thank you to all those people who are continuing to give me such great answers. I secondly have some exciting news for you. Your summer reading assignment has come out. This is from your high school teachers for next year, your English 2 teachers. So this did not come from me. And it doesn't need to be done right now. The only thing you need to do with it right now is take a look at it. There should be a link in Google Classroom and make sure that you understand the assignment and what's expected of you. And then if there are any questions I can answer, let me know. I believe this is due when you come back in the fall. Nobody knows what that's going to look like right now, but as of now, you still have summer reading and it's still expected to be done by the time school starts next year. But don't worry about that now. All you're worried about right now are themes and the book thief. Okay, so themes continue to be something that the author is trying to teach through the story. So a message that the author wants you to understand, and they tell it through their story in different ways. So a quick review of some of the ones we've had so far. A lot of the themes have been fairly clear cut. So Lord of the Flies, fear overcomes logic. They are afraid of the beast. And even though it doesn't make any sense that there could be a beast that doesn't leave tracks, that, can't come from the water and hasn't come from the air, even though it makes no sense, their fear of the beast overcomes that logic. For the Odyssey, one of the themes is to remain humble or face the consequences. So remember, Odysseus blinded Polyphemus's eye and then bragged about it, and then he got stuck another 10 years trying to get home. Polyphemus, likewise, was not humble and was bragging about how he's not afraid of the gods, and lo and behold, his eye gets poked out. So you can see this theme. The suitors were arrogant and didn't think that Odysseus could come get them. So remaining humble, having hubris, was a major one. And then finally, with Romeo and Juliet, there were many themes we talked about, but one of the themes was that parents need to pay attention to their kids or bad things can happen to them. Romeo's father didn't, his mom we barely saw. His father didn't seem to take a lot of notice of him. And with Juliet, her dad was abusive and her mom seemed, not really present. And so that left both of them open to Friar Lawrence and the nurse, who didn't always give them good advice. So you can see those 3 themes in the books we've already covered. Those themes are fairly clear cut. With the book thief, it's a bit more complex. Zusak explores both the good and bad parts of a theme. It's not always quite easy to articulate. It becomes more something like, here is this theme in a variety of ways. So here's an example, which seems like it should be clear cut, but it's not. Humans can be terrible, but they can also be compassionate. That seems pretty clear cut. It's looking at humans who are both terrible and kind. And obviously that takes place through the Nazis, who are terrible, and the Hubermans, who are very compassionate. But it also takes place in Liesel. Liesel's compassionate. She takes care of Max. She regrets beating people up, but she does beat people up. She's a bully. She beats up Schmeichel. She beats up the poor kid, Tommy Mueller, who can't hear. She steals from priest. She steals from the boy who delivers to the priest, who isn't doing anything wrong. And so, she also exemplifies compassion and also cruelty. Okay, so for the last part, the one where you have to answer 4 and for 6 sentences, it asks you to examine a theme early on in the book and then from a more recent part. So to take a look at what he says early in the book and then what he's saying in this part. So sometimes when you look at it early on and later on, the theme changes between them. Sometimes it just gets stronger. So let's take a look at an example of one that gets stronger, where Zusak reinforces the theme. Death begins the book stating how tired he is of his work. He distracts himself with colors. He distracts himself with people. And so we know how tired he is. Being death is exhausting. In this section, the previous section with the history, we hear Death compare his war to like a demanding boss. There's so many souls he can't keep up, and the boss just keeps saying more and more. And then he also has to carry souls like suitcases. And so you get the sense that Zusak is reinforcing this theme. It's the same throughout the book. Zusak can also change up the themes, though. So he can add a rift or change up the theme the second time. So this theme of the importance of reading, reading is wonderful. It connects Hans and Liesel. It forges their relationship. And I apologize, that the Gravedigger's Handbook should be in italics, so feel free to yell at me. So it can create relationships. But later on, Zusak introduces Mein Kampf, which should also be in italics, my apology. And so he reminds us that reading can also be destructive. People read Mein Kampf and became willing to destroy people. They bought into that idea because of his words, because of reading his words. And so reading changes. It, at one point, forges relationships, and then it breaks them apart. Now you'll notice that this is 3 sentences with a fourth. You could make this very similar to your response. So your response should be about 4 sentences, and this is an example of the complexity I'm looking for. Here's another example. Compassion. Hans's compassion saves Liesel and Max. It gives them a safe place to live, a safe home. So compassion is wonderful. Hooray! Compassion is life-saving. But it's this compassion that can also lead to the deaths of the family. It puts him in danger when he gives the person who's Jewish in the march, when he gives him bread. And he's waiting for the Nazis to come for him, to come for his family, for the problems to come. And so in this case, compassion can also be destructive. Compassion can be destructive. So you can see how he changes what compassion can be. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of the themes you're going to be working with in your reading log, and then also some ideas on previous examples you can use. So, undermining leadership, anyone who's a leader and someone is smart aleck or working against them or making fun of them or makes it difficult to do their job or they're not taking them seriously, that's undermining the leadership. So Rudy and Liesel and Hitler Youth, they undermine the leadership, Rudy especially. There are 2 leaders of the apple stealing gang. There is Arthur Berg, and then there's the other one who I can't remember his name. My sincere apologies. But you know, what are they like as leaders? There is, how does Rudy and Liesel undermine them? Anytime they go against something what Hitler says or something against Mein Kampf, that is undermining them. So those are some ideas. The next one is survivor's guilt. We have 4 people here who have survived the death of their loved ones, and they all deal with it in different ways. And we're going to see some other people who are survivors dealing with death and seeing what that looks like. So, Max survives Eric Vandenberg with his family. Hans survives because of Eric Vandenberg. Ilsa survives her son and she can't get over it. Liesel survives her brother and her mom. Max, again, he loses his whole family. So you can take a look at that. The randomness of death, being unable to understand or justify why some people die and some people don't. Why does Max get to survive when the rest of his family dies? Eric Vandenberg saying, Hans should survive. Hans should do the writing, and I'll be the one to go into battle. Hans Jr. dies. Arthur Berg's sister. Arthur is the member of the gang here, and Death talks about him holding his sister who dies and he survived. And then, of course, there's anyone who is Jewish and communist. A lot of you have been remarking that it seems random, why people who are Jewish? Why did they only like blonde hair, blue eyed people? There is an element of randomness to it that does make us uncomfortable. All right. The last one, my warning is it seems like it'd be really easy, but it's actually so big it can be hard to work with. And I almost replaced it with another one. So this one is words abilities, the abilities to do good and harm. So one strong example is Liesl yelling at the mayor's wife and slashes appear on her face. There's the Gravedigger's Handbook that allows Liesl to say goodbye to her brother, that allows her to read and forge a new life. There's Mein Kampf, which people read, and now all of a sudden the Holocaust is rolling. There's the words that Liesl writes on the basement wall. There's Max's stories. He talks a lot about words and the word shaker. Any of Hitler's speeches, the act of burning books, the word Salmensch, calling someone, a bad name. At the beginning, it seems like one thing, and then towards the end, it seems like another. There's labels, being a Nazi, being a Jew lover, stuff like that. There's also Max's identity. Hitler calls him scum and he starts to believe it. Liesl says his hair is like feathers and he draws himself like a bird. So people calling other people something. Okay, so by now you should be armed and dangerous to attack your reading log. These are, once again, the themes you'll be working with. Take a look at 2 examples, one from the beginning and one from where we're at now. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I am happy to answer them. And other than that, you have a wonderful week. I miss you.